Hey, welcome, welcome. My name is Justin Janoska, and I am the founder of the Autoimmune Revolution. One of the most frequently asked questions I receive is, why are you so passionate about helping people with autoimmune disease? Why do you work with women? Why did you create the Autoimmune Revolution? Great questions. So my intention with this video is to share exactly why I do all of this. It all started with my mom, who has this autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So I'd like to tell you the emotional dark roller coaster of a story about how my mom ended up with it, and I want to share with you how I helped her overcome it. Now, for as long as I can remember, my mom constantly needed to visit a neurologist for her excruciating migraines when I was growing up. Nearly every other day, she was crippled from the sheer pain. So imagine me as a 5-year-old child who has a mom that could never leave her bed and muster up the energy to do anything with me. She would always tell me how incredibly guilty she felt for that. But she didn't know what to do anymore for the migraines, so she lived on all sorts of pain medications. My parents had just gotten married when I was born in 1987, but it turned south very quickly. My mom didn't know how to find joy and peace in her life anymore. Between the physical pain and the emotional pain within the marriage, every day was a fight for her to find hope and happiness. It was a bright, sunny Wednesday morning. The sun rays scattered across my parents' bed. My mom was all alone in the house. My dad was at work. My mom was found sulking at the bottom of her bedroom closet beneath 2 rows of medications. I was only 2 years old at the time when she made a decision that almost changed my life forever. She took the dozen of medication bottles that she had, dumped them on the bed, and she began mindlessly swallowing each of them one by one. She reached a tipping point where she simply didn't feel worthy enough to live. But a magical moment happened. Something stopped her from continuing. She said, "What would happen with Justin if I was gone?" The thought of her leaving me behind when I was already felt left behind paralyzed her. It spared her life, and really mine too. That night though, she became violently sick, throwing up aggressively, and felt like she had been stabbed in the gut. The ambulance arrived within minutes, and I watched her get carried out by the paramedics as I sobbed and screamed, feeling completely confused and scared of what was happening. And I still have flashbacks of that night. So between the abusive marriage, chronic migraines, and whirlwind of anxiety and anger and guilt, she had Hashimoto's brewing inside for at least 20 years and didn't even know it. Sooner or later, the nonstop stress she had been living with came down like an avalanche one day and catapulted her into full-blown stage 3 Hashimoto's that the doctors decided to finally diagnose her with. After 6 years, jumping around from one doctor to the next, only to be told to keep taking her Synthroid or not being listened to at all, the fatigue, the IBS, the bloating, the migraines, the brain fog, the hair loss, and the weight gain got exponentially worse. She felt more hopeless and more miserable than ever. I had just enrolled in graduate school around 2013 to study alternative medicine for cancer when she was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. But after hearing all about these failures, I became incredibly frustrated and made it my mission to help her find a solution to this disease. So I spent 4 years training with my professors, studying, researching, and reading papers relentlessly all about Hashimoto's. I cannot emphasize this enough about how I was absolutely blown away by how conventional medicine was feeding her so many lies. The amount of misinformation out there and how many hidden truths there were about Hashimoto's that she wasn't told. Her naturopaths weren't doing anything better for her either, unfortunately. When I learned that they were just giving her 15 supplements and telling her to cut out more and more foods. So at this point, from what I had learned, I knew wholeheartedly that there was more to Hashimoto's than healing a leaky gut, taking 15 supplements, changing her diet, and taking medications, because that clearly wasn't working out for her. So I began integrating different strategies that addressed the most important part of her Hashimoto's that no one was doing, her immune system. And after applying these strategies consistently for at least 3 months, you wouldn't believe it. Her thyroid antibodies got down below 100 for the first time in 6 years. Her bloating and constipation went away. She started losing weight again, and believe it or not, her migraines finally went away. The exact issue no neurologist could have figured out for her. I was in complete disbelief, but was so extremely excited. To this day, she is miraculously still in remission and no longer suffers. But I want to tell you this, autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's is complicated. Everyone is different. But I know now that the biggest contributor to my mom's Hashimoto's was from the countless years of stress. She had also suffered from childhood trauma, emotional neglect, feelings of unworthiness, and lived a very type A, overcommitted lifestyle. Her health problems affected me dramatically too. I was born during the peak of all of this, and eventually I became diagnosed with a condition called Tourette syndrome, which is a tic disorder, and it involves involuntary movements. Surprisingly though, I was able to heal myself through lifestyle. But it's a reminder to me that my mom's undiagnosed autoimmune disease, trauma, and her stress was responsible for my mental health disorder. Childhood and early adult trauma is an ongoing problem I see in the autoimmune world. It's a hugely missed factor. Because of my mom's trauma and my own, it is a crucial component to healing autoimmune disease with their clients. And that's why we focus on mind-body medicine. Now, autoimmune disease is much more complicated than trauma, of course, but it's a highly overlooked and under-recognized part that gets forgotten. Often, many people don't realize they even have it. Many women, and maybe yourself, are struggling exactly how my mom did. But I want you to know something. I hear you. We hear you. You're not alone. And you have our unconditional support. The one thing I always say is that if lifestyle got you here, then lifestyle can get you out. My mom is living proof of that, as are the countless women we have helped. You don't deserve to feel like this. You don't deserve to live like this anymore. And we want to serve you. I made it my life's mission to help women like you because I don't want you to have to go through what my mom went through or continue struggling with your disease. I know you've been let down countless times. I know you feel defeated and beaten down. And I know you're probably starting to feel hopeless. No one has listened to you or taken you seriously. But the truth is that there is a solution for you, and we want to help you find that. If you are interested in applying for any of our programs to see if we can help you, please submit an application. If you are interested in applying for any of our programs to see if we can help you, please submit an application. If you have Hashimoto's, visit the Thyroid Revive tab. If you have PCOS, visit the PCOS Powerhouse tab. Now, if you have lupus, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, inflammatory bowel disease, psoriasis, endometriosis, anxiety, depression, or an eating disorder, you would be a candidate for our one-on-one program with one of our amazing team members. On behalf of the Autoimmune Revolution team, I look forward to connecting with you and the opportunity to transform your life.